Now, Ada Field-Williams has revealed how she makes sure and her husband, Robbie Williams' 4 kids, do not become overly spoilt, despite the couple's lavish lifestyle.
The X Factor judge, 44, told The Times in a new interview that neither she nor Robbie are interested in raising brats.
And while Ada's methods might not be totally relatable, the desire to raise considerate, well-mannered children is. However, it can be difficult to set boundaries and to say no to children. Every parent wants their child to get what they need and wants so they can be happy.
Joining us now to discuss this is personal finance blogger and mum Emma Bradley and mother and parenting consultant Roma Norriss.
Now, the thing about this story, right, is that Robbie and his missus made the kids sit in cattle class on a flight, right, while they were lording it up in first class. Now, that's not something that we can all relate to. Let's start with that. But, Emma, do you think that he's got a point? Is it the right thing to do to make sure they don't get a taste for the high life? Put them back in cattle class, make them suffer a bit.
No, I mean, for me, I like to treat my kids. I work hard so that they can have the best. Now, I get what they're saying, but these people, you know, OK, they're going to travel cattle class, as you're calling it. They're then going to get off that into their private cars with their private chefs, go to their private schools. I mean, one flight isn't going to teach them not to be spoiled, is it?
Roma, I sort of sympathise with that view. I mean, if you are very rich, your children, like you're not, are going to have a very nice life. Is there any point in even bothering to try not spoiling them?
I actually think it's a misconception that spoiling is something material. I think it's not something that's related to differences in wealth, but more to do with our values. So regardless of background, we can prevent spoiling by setting healthy limits, modelling on a day-to-day basis things like gratitude and conscientiousness. It's much more about how we conduct ourselves than the kind of material things that we give our children.
And Emma, I think that's a great point, isn't it? I mean, if children understand the value of a pound note, if they understand the value of treats, of anything they get, then that's the way to go, surely. I mean, I make my kids work for their money a lot of the time. And as for flying, I said to my daughter, when we went to Rhodes recently, she said, "Oh, can we take the cat?" I said, "We can take the cat if you go in the hold with the cat." And she said, "OK." So I didn't put her in the hold. I'll get back to my point. I'm getting a bit off-piste here. But isn't it about teaching kids the value of money so therefore they appreciate it rather than just expecting it and being entitled?
Yeah, absolutely. And as we've just said, there are so many ways you can teach children these important values. You can teach children the value of money through pocket money, through just having honest conversations. Children need to know how much things cost. So, you know, rather than just saying you're not coming on this flight with me and you can sit in the back because I want to set my champagne at the front, you know, it's having conversations about how much things cost, how to work, the value of hard work. You know, I have spoilt my kids relative to other people as well. And I think that's the thing. It's all relative.
Oh, we lost her. Roma, let's pick it with you.
Lost them both.
Lost both of them.
Roma.
Yeah, so I think it's Go on.
Roma, I think that's a really interesting point you made there, that spoiling isn't necessarily about material items. Yeah. It's about the values that you bring to your children. You're a parenting consultant. Is there any advice you'd give to parents watching who perhaps are worried that they are spoiling their children and want them to be brought up as, you know, polite, nice kids? What would you say to them?
Yeah, I mean, it's understandable. We all want our children to grow up, you know, being good citizens, having something to contribute. We worry about brattiness. That's not actually a word I love, but this is something that can be prevented by regularly setting healthy and appropriate boundaries. It's when we give children too much power that they start to act out, and it's actually a signal to us. It's a kind of cry for help, that they need more containment so they can feel more held. They need to know that we're the ones leading the family and that we've got this.
And Emma, maybe it was your children pulled your internet cable out there because they heard you having a go about entitled children. But on a serious point, don't you just tend to find that these things flow downhill? Like in my observation, I'm going out for Sunday lunch today, and I see entitled parents, and you can tell a mile off. They're the ones whose kids throw all the food on the floor, and the parents don't tidy up. They learn to be entitled by, I think, poor parenting.
Yeah, we absolutely do need to model what we want our children to be like. So it is important that we're teaching them the value of money, that we're teaching them respect. And that happens in everyday education and everyday life. It's the conversations we have. We really need, especially in this cost of living crisis, for children and young people to grow up knowing things cost, and maybe families have choices to make, for example, as well. So, the conversation needs to be ongoing, honest and open, not just, one flight, and that's going to show them how the other half live.
Roma, I think there's definitely a new brand of sort of modern parenting, which encourages treating your children as though they are adults, as though they are capable of making the same sort of decisions as adults. Do you think that actually sort of can sometimes spill over into just spoiling your children, and that actually perhaps the best way to parent is for the parents for the children to know who's the parent and who's the child?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I think
children.
We'll go with Roma first.
Sorry. I think it's a natural reaction to the kind of autocratic parenting that most of us receive, to the very sort of disciplinarian parenting, which is also, too far in the other direction. It's understandable that parents are overcompensating in the other direction. But ideally, we want to be able to set limits, also with kindness. And the risk of not doing so is that we can create something that I call alpha child syndrome, which is where children either become kind of very defiant, they throw tantrums every time they don't get what they need. They're kind of the ones calling the shot. You all know those kind of children.
Yeah. We're all nodding along.
Or they can just go the other way. They can become sort of quietly over responsible and just taking care of things in the background and doing more than what a child actually should be doing. So yes, absolutely. Our kids need our leadership.
Emma, alpha child syndrome, I've got a different word for that, and it's brat. And isn't that the problem? A lot of kids these days become brats because they simply aren't set firm boundaries. This touchy-feely parenting that you're talking about, I think, creates monsters. Isn't the clear way forward a bit of a mix? Some old-fashioned parenting, set boundaries. I'm the boss. I want to be your friend, but I'm not just your friend. I'm also your mum. I'm your dad or your parent. I'm in control. I'm in charge. Make sure you understand who's the boss.
Yeah, I agree as well. My eldest is 23 and, we are very close and we spend a lot of time together, but I'm not her best friend. I'm still her mum, even at her age now. Her best friend is somebody totally different and I don't want to be her best friend. I've got my own friends. But, again, I do believe that, kids thrive when they've got structures and boundaries in place. They do in school and they do at home. And that doesn't mean, shouting and being the loudest in the room, but it is that calm parenting that you make the decisions and you have those values that you instill.
OK, Emma Bradley and Roma Norriss, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you for joining us. Not a single tantrum between them. Well done. Great stuff. A huge debate. Let us know what you think about that, because, I see these kids that just kind of charge around pubs on a Sunday lunch. They're tearing the place apart. They're screaming. They're leaving mayhem behind. They're leaving rubbish on the floor, and the kids just aren't looking. They're just looking the other way. They're on their phones. They're chatting away, and it's like, sort that kid out.
And then you see the parents, their sort of 3-year-old child, they're sort of trying to reason with them and explaining how they could be behaving differently, and you just think, just tell them off. Children don't understand that complicated logical reason.
Get in touch about that. Do you think that the old-fashioned way is best? Did our parents know best? Have we become too touchy-feely, too soft? We want to be your mates. You don't want to be their mates. You want to be their parent. Let us know what you think. Let's get back to basics. I think that's the best way. You can probably tell.